When the council gave the go-ahead for wholesalers to sell cut flowers, there was an immediate interest from the retailers. Now the markets sell upwards of 500 bunches a week, and that's a boost for the growers in the Hunter Valley and the Central Coast.
We've had tremendous response from flowers. What we're doing, and it should have been done years and years ago, by the way, but we've introduced them now into fruit and veg shops. And the reason being that in Newcastle there is very few, and I can't think of any actually, after 5:30 where you can buy flowers.
Peter, what sort of response from the growers? Have they been happy with the initiative?
Oh, tremendous. We had growers approached us, and the reason they approached us was that flowers, traditionally the growers have to take them around to 43 florists in Newcastle. There is no central spot for flowers to be distributed. Now we have one in Newcastle. What will happen as consumers, as growers get to realise what the consumers want, they will change, the growers will change their growing practice.
Have you had any problems, say, from the Florist Association? Have they been opposed the idea of it?
Well, no, we haven't had any feedback from the Florist Association. What we would like to do is work in with the Florist Association. And by the way, we have florists now buying flowers here at the market. So it is good for the industry. You know, if there are flowers, more flowers are sold, it's good for the industry all the way through.
We have continually said in this region we don't care whether it's the Germans or the Swedes as long as they're actually built here in Newcastle. But as far as the actual site is concerned, the decision is still 5 weeks away. We do know that there's been a tremendous swing back to Newcastle, and I believe that the article today is simply an article that is rehashing information that's been available to everybody for 6 months since the project definition study results were submitted.
And while the Sydney Morning Herald report painted a grim picture of Newcastle's chances, another article, this time in today's edition of the Business Review Weekly, says Newcastle is now considered to be the favoured site by the Australian Submarine Corporation. So has today's speculation proved a psychological blow to Newcastle's chances?
There is still a lot of work to be done. There's still 5 weeks to go before the decision is going to be made. And where we have people like the reporter from the Business Review Weekly saying that the swing is back towards Newcastle, and we know that's right.
Today's speculation sheds light on the amount of politicking which surrounds the awarding of the multi-billion-dollar contract. Meantime, Cockham's competitor, HDW, says its submission, which could favour Newcastle as the preferred site, will win them the work. And the West German consortium believes the fight for the multi-billion-dollar contract is far from over. Mark Warren, SBS News. In Newcastle.
Many shoppers at Elermore Vale took time out this morning to view the road safety display, which is organised each year by the Lions Club. Local businesses provided the safety equipment, and police were there to demonstrate random breath test units and to answer questions. Members of the Newcastle Cycleways group also donated their services in the form of free check-ups for bikes. Road Safety Chairman for the Elermore Vale Lions Club, Alan Mowbray, says the aim is to raise public awareness of road safety before the break. According to Mr Mowbray, people often want to travel too far in the short time they have. His advice is, it's better to be a few minutes late than to be dead on time. Also today, the weather was ideal for looking at boats, and they were all there at the Marmong Cove Marina Open Day, from the very small to the very big, or again the very unusual. Is it a boat, a caravan, or a trailer? What it is Australian designed and the first of its kind in the world. Much of the latest in boating wear is on display at the marina, including the new Fraser cruisers out from Perth. But if you're shopping for things that float, you may have to be content with something a little smaller than these, unless you plan to spend around $350,000. The show is open till 8 tonight and till 6 tomorrow night.
plenty of good teams in the past, but these days the same famous toughness seems to have deserted the township that has produced more internationals than any other team in Australia. Today's result was really a hiding. Last year's runners-up South Newcastle scoring 6 tries to 1. It was good on the efforts of the front rowers, Nicola Adrian Roveray and representative top forward Paul Hill. Then Wilbur Richard Jones, who trailed the rucks. Wide also did well to finish with 2 tries. Cody reckoned the footballers did not play, but is confident of taking his place in the Newcastle team to play in a country championship. Captain coach Peter Brady was his team's best, with centre three-quarter Peter Watson. Macquarie play North tonight, and the other 3 games to be played tomorrow.
But look at Tony Primer go up on the outside of Stevens, who came back at him, and they're locked together going down the back. Stevens on the inside, Primer on the outer. The leader is Cole Walters at the moment. Walters is leading, followed by Primer. There's a lap to go. Then comes Stevens, followed by Nielsen and Jordan. Down the back straight away, Tony Primer. Can he grab the leader, Walters? Walters is in front. Primer's making a dive at him on the outside in the last corner. Walters on the inside. Primer hooks back on the inside. Walters is first. Set. Away they go. Very even start too. Doc Falk got away well from his mark. So too did Gary Trelaw, who's going to try and push on the outside. Grant Bond kicked away out in front. Darryl Mitchell came back at him. Oh, there's hardly any. Oh, look at Darren Trelaw. You can't get through there, Darren. Wowee! It's Gary Trelaw, who's been in hot form tonight, really carving them up now. He's got to the lead. He's going to win the race. Gary Trelaw is going to be first. It's going to be close for second. Grant Bond might hang on just long enough for second. Greg Griffiths is third. Phil McCurtain got up for fourth.
Up in the sky, the tiger moth hovered, the challenger of the event. Down below, Newcastle's old flyer, the shining 3801, steamed up in preparation to match speed over the 25-kilometre sprint from Waratah to Maitland. The crowd of thousands waited as some argued over the favourite of the race, the only one of its kind ever known to be held. Both contenders were handicapped. The old loco pulled 8 passenger carriages, but this had its advantages. They were full of supporters. Up above, the Tiger Moth performed set manoeuvres. Although not known for its speedy pursuits, the Moth can fly up to 130 kilometres an hour. But as it showed off more of its high-flying skills, the 202-tonne loco chugged right on past the finish line first. The challenge to the great race was made in good sportsmanship tradition, and it ended the same way.
Oh, it was an interesting race, but I think we gave ourselves too much of a handicap and it cost us the race, but it was very, very close. Looks like those engine drivers have won the day. Perhaps we could challenge them to a rematch next year.
Richard and Jasper have a long ride ahead of them. In fact, nearly 1,100 kilometres from Melbourne to Sydney. Joining them are 4 team members, a driver and co-driver, plus 2 strappers. Alan Caslick will be behind the reins of the Australian Pole Sulky, specially designed for 2 horses. As far as the 2 workers are concerned, they'll be taking it all in their stride.
They both have real good track records. Richard, the original horse that we were going to just run a single sulky with, has won a couple of drives. He's been vetting rather well. Jasper has done a lot of ridden endurance. He's also won a few rides, and we've just sort of out of the blue picked them and tried to put them together, and they absolutely just fell together like a jigsaw puzzle.
Averaging 80 kilometres a day, the team will only have 2 rest days during the 17-day trek. There's no prize money at the end, just the honour of winning the world's longest harness marathon event.
Really just for the absolute challenge of it, to say I've competed in it and really completed it. It's just an adventure and also a holiday all in one.
19-year-old strapper Susan Merry is more at home with English dressage, but the exchange student is looking forward to being part of a great Australian race.
It should be a lot of fun. Hopefully if they go well, we'll be happy.
And what do you think of one of Australia's pastimes, such as sulky driving?
I think it's very good. I've done a lot with horses, but riding, as I say, nothing to do with driving, but it is very different.
Great, that'll do.
The terminal was evacuated by a fire alarm right on 2:30, soon after an explosion rocked a bank of 3 dust hoppers at the southwestern corner of the Grain Handling Authority's site. Their job is to store wheat dust collected as the grain passes along conveyors from silos to ships. Workmen who'd been at the top of the bins scrambled for their lives as flames and smoke belched out from beneath them. Only one of them was slightly injured as they made their way quickly down the ladders, but he did not need to be taken to hospital. Firemen arrived quickly and began spraying water on the bins to try and keep them cool, but the fire in at least one of them continued to burn fiercely, peeling the paint from the steel wall. The explosive potential of wheat dust is well known, so no attempt to open the bins was made at first because it was feared this could set off another explosion. There was always the possibility of flames feeding back to the conveyors and even the wheat storage silos themselves. Finally, a loader operator who's also a volunteer fireman at Belmont, Pat Hobbins, in the yellow raincoat, was able to open an access door to enable water to be sprayed directly onto the wheat dust. It's expected to be some time before the situation is brought back to normal and the loader can begin operations again. No one has any idea at this stage just what set off the explosion.
And for one Grand National driver in particular, it was all over after just 3 laps. Luckily, he walked away from that one.
sir, up and over, 1, 2, 3, 4.
The Super Sedan Grand Prix provisional finish places went to Madawi driver Bob Brewer, from Queensland champion Wayne Randell and Wollongong's Cole Hodgkiss. He came in third in a very controversial race. Johnny Pine, who lapped the field, was disqualified for an incident during the race, but refused to accept the black flag and continued to run. A protest lodged by Pine after the race could see some changes to final placings. The Grand National Grand Final was also a very hard-fought affair, with a mixture of good and bad luck for quite a few of the big boys, particularly Australian champion Paul O'Neill, who took the lead with 1 lap to go. As they say in racing, it's not over till the flag drops.
Oh, he's in trouble! He only led...
In the long run, it was a battle between the 2 previous winners in the girls section, both 17-year-olds and both extremely talented, like the 1985 winner, Nicole Lewin from the Coolangatta Tweed Heads Club. She plays off scratch, would you believe, and equalled her own course record with a 2-over on Sunday. Shani War hails from Bunbury in Western Australia and was the winner last year. She plays off a handicap of 4, both very good players. Well, with the boys, it looked like being a 3-way battle, with local boys Darren Griffin of the Waratah Club, he's a 16-year-old of a handicap of 2, and Brett Perkins, another 16-year-old from Nelson Bay. He plays off 4. The out-of-towner giving them trouble was Matthew Ecob of Castle Hill. He's the younger brother of David Ecob, the national amateur champion. Matthew also plays off 4. The sponsors, Shell Australia and the Barclay Bank, can feel that it's well worthwhile, as it gives great experience to our best young players from all over Australia.
Over 200 entries have been received for this year's titles, which kicked off today with an invitation race. 60 different types of craft are competing, ranging in size from a 9-foot Pelican up to a 40-foot yacht. Competitors represent high schools from all over the state, with most coming from the Newcastle and Sydney areas. The championships proper begin tomorrow with the first heat and finish on Saturday. It's being run in association with the combined high schools and state secondary school sailing championships.
Hunter Valley dairy farmers produce about 20% of New South Wales' fresh milk supplies. That represents about 185 million litres a year. Victoria, in comparison, and under less controlled industry regulations, produces about 3.5 billion litres a year. New South Wales and Hunter Valley dairy farmers in particular are concerned the cheaper Victorian product could put a lot of them out of business.
We've lost 5% of our supplies in the last 12 months, so dairy farmers are not doing well here. They're going out all the time. We have lost about 36 dairy farmers out of 420 supplies in the last 12 months. So we're certainly not on top of the world in the dairying world.
So what sort of things will you be raising with Mr Kerrin tomorrow at Singleton?
Well, specifically, now that the Victorians have come in with their milk into our market, we will be up in arms about that, because that was the purpose of the levy, of our acquiescence to the levy, was that the Victorian milk not come into New South Wales. Now they've broken this agreement, and I would say there'll be a lot of very angry farmers at Singleton to see Mr Kerrin tomorrow.
The Minister and the West German Ambassador to Australia, Dr. Shah, arrived by helicopter today, accompanied by other senior German defence officials. Dr. Warner arrived in Australia last night on a 3-day visit, after which he'll continue his tour of the Pacific regions by visiting Hawaii and Canada before returning home. He stressed that his visit here was in return for a visit paid to Germany last year by Australian Defence Minister Kim Beazley, and is only to look at Australian defence capabilities. He said the final decision on the submarine contract was up to Australia.
I have any confidence that Australia will take this decision in consideration of Australia's interest. What I have to offer is support of my own government for the German industry in case if Australia decides for this German company and submarine.
Although Dr. Warner said his visit to Australia was not a commercial one, and he didn't need to sell West German capabilities, he obviously could not resist a small amount of praise.
That we, as a nation with, I think, a lot of experience in industry, technology, and also submarine warfare and submarine export and production, can deliver a good support to any client who decides to buy a German submarine.
Newcastle and Hunter Valley milk vendors will drop the price of their milk from tomorrow. 150 milkos met this morning at Hexham and made the decision following the recent drop-off in sales because of the milk trade war. For all the news,
Join us tonight
at 6.